The biggest thing, in my opinion, is if you're a chess player, you need to find a chess advisor,
Mm,
not a checkers advisor. You can ask your advisor, like, well, do you own multiple pieces of real estate? And if that advisor says no, then just get up and leave because that's not a chess advisor, right?
yeah.
They may be an excellent checkers advisor, though. I'm not going to take that away from them. Doesn't mean you know, they're just completely incompetent. They're just probably not right for you.
Welcome to the Bricks and Banks podcast, where real estate meets real wealth. Whether you're building from the ground up or stacking your paper to the ceiling, Steph breaks down property power plays and money moves you can act on. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, this podcast is your blueprint for financial freedom through property, investment, and business. Subscribe now. It's time to build your future. This is Bricks and Banks with Steph.
2, 1, and we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to another amazing edition of Breaks of Bank with Steph. As always, I'm your host, Stephanie, and I'm here with an amazing guest. Our guest today is it's a wealth advisor. He's the founder of Opta Financial, and he's an author. Join with me and make welcome Freddie Rapina. Yay! Hey
I mean,
Freddie,
thanks for having me.
welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have a long Easter weekend ahead of us, so it's good vibes over here. What do you have anything planned for the Easter break?
Just being with family. Just
Yeah,
pretty standard stuff, but
nice.
all good.
Okay. Can you just take a few moments to introduce yourself, let people know what you do, and we can get into the
Well,
meat of
I'm
the
a wealth
matter?
advisor, and yeah, I'm a wealth advisor, and the first million that somebody makes is going to be the hardest one.
Hmm.
It's the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, when you're a startup company or entrepreneur of any kind, you sleep like a baby. You wake up every 3 hours and cry. So once you get to that $1 million mark, though, if you know what you're doing and you have a team helping you, because a lot of that first million you probably had to do yourself. But once you get there, and if you have a correct team, the next 10 is not nearly as difficult as the first one, um, because you're able to amplify yourself very, very quickly. And we help clients who, maybe they're business owners, maybe they're executives, whatever, get to that next level of wealth where it's no longer just them, grinding their nails to the skin for every dollar they make, and
Yeah,
help them build wealth. It's not everybody's cut out for that. Not everybody wants that, or not everybody's willing to do the things that are necessary to achieve that.
exactly.
So, but we help those people who do have the right mindset, and I call that the chess mindset, and then instead of the checkers mindset.
Amazing. I mean, I would say a lot of building your first million comes to the place of managing people, because it's one thing to have people on ground and another thing to build systems that align with those people. And if you don't have the resources of people and systems, it's very difficult to thrive in this world, especially in the brutal world of entrepreneurship. So, like you said, you often say that world building is more like chess than crackers. Can you
Yes.
unpack what that means and how people can apply that mindset to their financial planning?
Sure. So I'm definitely known for this checkers and chess concept in finance. And checker, checkers is middle class finance. It's funding retirement
Mm-hmm.
accounts, IRAs, 401ks, you name it, saving a whole lot of money, and waiting for compound interest or the market to go up over time. And I don't say there's anything wrong with checkers. And if you're going to play checkers, I want you to play it very, very well, because
Yeah.
nothing sucks more than being a bad checkers player. But what I do want people to understand is that, in my opinion, they're just not going to become wealthy with those strategies. It just won't happen. For that, they have to switch over to chess. And a lot of the chess strategies kind of fly in the face of checkers. So if you're playing checkers, you want to be completely out of debt, right? You want to be debt free, and so you can put more towards those accounts. If you're playing chess, though, you want to be in as much debt as possible,
Good depths.
which is very different. And yeah, when I'm
Yeah.
using debt in that context, I'm thinking about leverage. You
Yeah.
have the
Leverage.
asset, you take out a loan, you buy the cash flowing asset, which is
Mm-hmm.
usually a piece of business or a piece of real estate or business, and you use the income to fund your life and enjoy life now, not waiting 30 years for the market and compound interest to help you build wealth. You do it now, and it's just very different. And with that, you can achieve a higher level of wealth. It doesn't mean you're going to be a billionaire, bazillionaire, whatever,
Yeah.
but it is possible to build it. Whereas checkers, it won't happen, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So would you say that's the core of Opta Financial? Is that like the mission of the firm?
Yeah, it's really to help people build that next level, whatever that means to them. But to also understand that there are two different games, and you want to know who you are before you start playing either game.
Yeah.
And you want to play well. Now, if you're a person right now and you're like, you need to get your stuff together, right? You're not anywhere near where you're in a lot of consumer debt. You have all the bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I want to play chess. Like, well, no, let's play checkers
Checkers
first,
first.
and let's get really good at that. But you can
Yeah.
also play checkers with the mindset of, okay, one day I'm going to switch over to chess. It's going to be great, but right now I got to play checkers and play it well. Um, and so it's really understanding who you are, but we help people who want to build wealth, if and are willing to be comfortably uncomfortable, right?
Hmm.
When people say like, well, I don't want to invest in real estate, I don't want to invest in businesses, I don't want to invest in oil and gas, I don't want to do this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, how do you expect for this to happen? Like,
Sure.
so you're not willing to do the things you don't want to do in order to get to where you want to be. And that's not the definition of a successful person. A successful person is willing to do some things that, they're not extremely comfortable with, but they're willing to do it in order to get to where they want to be. So it's just a different way of looking at it.
So I know because a number of our listeners are like first time investors. Some are still finding their feet. Some are still playing the game of checkers, like you said. So would Opta Financials cater to the needs of these first time investors, or are you more of the HNIs and the money bags?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, if when people come to us and they like, I have, very little money, what should I do with it?
Mhm.
Our answers are, we're not going to shoo them away, right? But
Sure.
what we're going to try to do is, what we try to do is really encourage them to develop a skill set that's going to allow them to make a higher amount of revenue.
Hmm.
They can speed this process up because you can't save your way to wealth. It won't happen, in my opinion.
Sure.
Uh, so And for a lot of those people, some like we said before, people need to play checkers well before they can switch over. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not like the YouTube videos. I'm going to show you how to get rich quick with
In
no
1 hour.
money, and yeah, it's like no, that does in real life that doesn't happen. I mean, I guess it gets a lot of
Yeah.
clicks on YouTube, but in the real world and in the professional world, that's not the story.
Okay. Thank you. I know you're an author. You wrote a book playing the wealth game. Can you just show us like a glimpse of that book?
Sure. The book is called
Yay.
Playing the Wealth Game.
Playing the wealth game.
Yes, it's a self-discovery book. What we set out to do with the book is to help people understand who they are. By the end of the book, you should know whether you're a checkers player or a chess player, whether in practice or at heart, and whether you want to change. But
Yeah.
by the end of the book, you will not be screaming at the moon, why do the rich keep getting richer and the poor
Yeah.
keep getting poorer? It's like, well, they're not playing the same game.
Hmm.
And the game is available for everyone. It's just a matter of scale, right? And so you don't have to have, you know, $50 million to start playing chess. No, not at all. You need to have some money for sure. And saving. when you have the attitude that savings is really a storage of wealth in order to create leverage to be able to take out loans, to buy real estate, to buy businesses, and you want that, that savings to grow over time, whether it's market-based assets, but that itself is not going to lead you to the promised land. It's going to be the other things. But you don't get to the other things. You don't get to that level unless you have the resources to be able to perform, right? So, like, you can't walk into a you know a bank or a lender's office and say, "I don't have any money, but I I'm a chess player now, and I want to buy a piece of real estate." It's like, what? No, that's not. They're
No.
gonna, they're gonna throw you out, right? But when you can walk into a lender and say, "Hey, look at all the money I had. Look at this statement. Look at this
Mm,
money. I worked hard for this money. I don't want to use my money. I want to use your money, right?" And so you take a little bit out for a down payment, but I want you to go into the back vault there, take out what we need to go buy this piece of real estate or business or whatever, and I'm going to pay your loan back with other people's money with all the tax breaks, especially here in the United States, because especially in real estate, there are a lot of tax breaks to owning rental real estate in the United States.
yeah, I mean, real estate is one strategy that just makes a lot of sense. One should be able to uncover the, I would I put it as loopholes? Not necessarily loopholes, but once you're able to uncover the benefits, it makes a lot of sense. But in your experience, what's one common money myth you think is holding people back the most? I know you meet with a lot of people starting their financial
I would,
planning journey. So
yeah,
what's one thing that people are just afraid to jump into the water for?
I think, my opinion, compound interest is one of the most oversold concepts. Not that
Hmm.
it's wrong because it's math, it's irrefutable.
Yeah.
It's just something that takes too darn long, Stephanie. It just takes too long, right? Um, and depending on how much money you have in comparison, how much money did you start with in comparison to the cost of goods and services? So if you started out with 50 million, yeah, I mean, it can work, right? But when you're starting out with 5,000 or 50,000 or whatever, it takes too long.
Hmm.
Because if you're getting a 7% rate of return, your money should double every 10 years, right? That's the napkin math, which sounds great, but how many sets of 10 do you have? You're going to be,
Hmm.
by the time you get to this magical number, what age are you going to be? Right. And are you going to be able to even enjoy the money at that point in time and do the things you want to do? So we definitely feel that compound interest is an oversold concept. And we also believe that there's a little bit of a do as I say, not as I do element to the financial world where they're constantly teaching and promoting checkers strategies, and then
Hmm.
they're turning around with the money and playing chess, right?
Dangerous.
So, I mean, some of the biggest companies that issue mutual funds are also the same companies that own the largest portfolios of real estate in the United States. But whether they are employing people um, or also teaching advisors to tell people like not to invest in real estate because for one reason or another, right? And meanwhile, they are, right. So there's this is as do as I say, not as I do element, almost in a paternalistic sense, though, not in an evil sense. Not like that we're trying to steal all the money. No, it's Stephanie, chess would be too hard for you. You shouldn't.
Hmm.
Don't try this. Leave this to people who really know what they're doing. Just save all that money in our funds and let us provide you with a little bit of, a pretty good return, and
Dangerous.
that's it. But if you just look at the companies and what they're doing, and if you could just mimic that on a smaller scale,
Hmm.
the wealth would grow. We have 300,000 licensed financial professionals in some form or fashion in the United States. And if all of them were giving really good financial advice, wouldn't the wealth gap in the United States shrink?
Definitely, it would.
But it's not. It's expanding, and it's expanded so much in the past 30 years because people are still clinging on to these old beliefs that just haven't worked and refuse to change. And it's, in my opinion, if we had given really good financial advice on a mass scale, then the wealth gap in the United States would shrink and not so few own so much of it. But that's where we are right now.
Yeah, you said that many of these professionals are not giving the proper advice. I think that many of them don't even know what is right or what's wrong because they're just also living out the same advice that they're giving out. So, how would
Right.
you advise like the average Joe trying to build wealth? What's like the underrated strategy you would advise them to consider today?
Well, again, I want them to know whether or not they're a checkers player or a chess player.
Mm,
And if they're a checkers player, then there's plenty of good financial professionals out there who can help them play a decent checkers game, right? But if they're a chess player, then they should seek out a chess financial advisor, a chess wealth advisor, someone who understands, believes in, and also does chess strategies themselves, right? So, and again, it's a matter of scale, right? So, I kind of liken it like this: like if you went to the gym and you walked up to the front desk and you said, "Hey, I want, I need, I want a personal trainer. I want someone to hold me accountable, teach me technique, and help me, you know, get to my goal a lot faster." And if they said, "Okay, sure," and some out of shape slob walked up to you and said, "Hey, Stephanie, I'm going to be your personal trainer,
I
and you're
agree.
going to pay me money." It's funny, right?
Yeah,
Because you're gonna say, "No, no,
no,
you're not."
definitely.
It but that but also that person doesn't need to be Mr. Olympia to
Mm,
be a good personal trainer. They just not they can't be an out of shape slob. So understanding who you're getting your information from is also very important. Are they implementing similar strategies to that they're, helping you perform. So again, if you're a chess player, you need to have a chess advisor, and if your advisor currently is not a chess advisor, and they're constantly trying to talk you out of investing in real estate, investing in businesses, investing in things that maybe oil and gas investments, things that create tax benefits. And they're just constantly saying like, "Oh, don't you're a long term investor. You're in it
yeah.
for the long haul." Nobody you give your money to is in it for the long haul. Not the banks, not the insurance companies, not the investment companies. Nobody is in it for the long haul. They're looking to build wealth now, and you should be too, in my opinion, if you're a chess.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know you talked about time as being like an important factor because the more time you waste playing checkers, the less time you would have to enjoy the benefits of the wealth you've created. So how would you advise someone who feels like they're late in the game? Maybe someone in their probably late 30s is that
I
wants
would say
to
that's late at all.
that's not late. Oh, okay.
That's not late. That could be on time actually. Well, it depends on who they are,
Mm,
right? So,
okay.
but it's continuously saving or continuously just investing money back into your business without actually building wealth and being in a
Mm,
position of strength. It's those strategies will likely not lead you there. But also, and I don't want to dismiss this, if you're happy playing checkers, just play checkers and be good at it, right? Because checkers can work if your goal is to retire, draw an income, see the grandkids. Like your goal was never to be wealthy, you just wanted to be comfortable. And if that's your goal, then be a darn good checkers player, right? As long as you are okay with the other things, like you're not going to build a vast amount of wealth doing that. So yeah, but it's just the mindset shift from going from checkers to chess. And in my opinion, your attitude towards debt will be your differentiator. If you're like one of those people that just couldn't stand having debt, then you're a checkers player, and you want to be a good checkers player. But if you're comfortable with leverage and being able to do those things, then to be able to build the wealth that you want to build, then then you might be a chess player.
Okay, amazing. So let's just get into your head a bit. Like I know you've not always been a financial advisor. Can you share a bit of your background as to how you came up to this point?
Yeah. Well, I was there. I was a police officer. I'm a retired police officer in the Washington D.C. area, and around my 12th year, I wanted to change. I wanted to develop another career. I enjoyed being a police officer, but I didn't like that I couldn't control m- how successful I wanted I was had an entrepreneurial spirit. I wanted to build something, and so I switched over to financial financial advising. I actually was a wealth advisor and a police officer for about 7 years, and this was right next to my police station. I literally ran across the street sometimes back and forth. So that was a little nuts. But once I was able to retire fully from the police department, that yeah, that then I was just a wealth advisor full time. So, but I also got around a lot of chess people while I was
Mm,
a young police officer and realized that no, there is another thing out here, and
yeah.
it's not just all saving money and doing all that.
Putting
It's
a
there
down
are
payment
strategies
for a
that work.
house and looking to retire and pay a mortgage.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, that's more to that.
there's more if you want it though, and that's
Mm,
why I say there's two games because if you don't want it, that's fine. But if you do want it and you're playing checkers and you're wondering why it's not becoming successful because you're playing checkers. You're not doing anything. What you're doing is not wrong in the context that you're playing checkers wrong. You're playing checkers great. You're just not playing chess.
so how has your days in the force shaped your business mindsets? Like, what was that turning point for you? Have you always had that exit strategy that okay, I would work in the force for this number of years and I would switch to
Mhm.
wealth advisement, or you something sparked one day and you're like, okay, I'm done with this and I need to get out.
I would say I don't know if there's one thing, but one
Okay.
thing that has helped is having that evidence-based mindset, right?
Mm,
So being able to challenge thought and conventional wisdom and or even just the whole like, okay, that's what you're saying, but is that what you're doing? And I noticed a lot of that in the financial world where there were the companies or the industries were kind of preaching one thing and then doing something else. And with that evidence-based mindset, it's like you can kind of like say, like, wait a second, something's off here, right? And I can
yeah.
give you one huge example, and that's life insurance companies, right? Life insurance
Yeah.
companies uh, insure life, right? So there's three of the largest life insurance companies on the planet are Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, and Mass Mutual. And they're great. All three of them are great companies, right? But they had they had their best years to up until that point in 2020, 2021, and 2022. How can life insurance companies that insure life have great years in their best years to date during and soon after a global life-threatening pandemic?
Mm,
With the insurance life is dying. The CNN's got a scoreboard up every night on how
yeah.
many people have died. Shouldn't the life insurance companies be hurting at that point? And they weren't, they were thriving.
You're trying.
So that's like, wait a second, wait, how does that work?
Yeah.
And the reasons I believe are because they own so much real estate, so many different types of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They're diversified not just amongst market-based assets, but all asset classes.
Industries.
And
Yeah.
and they're able to weather even something as daunting as a global life-threatening pandemic and come out on top. So, and I wanna take those same types of attitudes and bring it down to a much smaller scale with people and say, like,
Mm,
"Okay, this is how you build true wealth that can weather any type of storm." And it's not just one thing. I love the market, but the market isn't the only thing that someone should be investing in if they're going to play chess.
yeah. So I know we mentioned before now that's typical financial advisors because they're more or less employees. They're not necessarily playing the chess game as you would think they are. So they're not necessarily practicing what they're preaching. So what should someone do? Like what irks you when your financial advisor says, don't worry, you're in it for the long haul. How should we push back? How should we like advocate for better advice from our advisors?
I would say is whatever company they're working for in it for the long haul. Like, uh, do they not want to? Are they waiting around 30 years for their investments to pay off, or it's just looking at it from that standpoint. You know, unfortunately, especially in the United States and especially here in Florida, there's a lot of just straight sales. So you have to make sure your advisor is a fiduciary and is acting like a fiduciary in your best interest, not
Hmm.
acting in the best interest of the companies that they represent. What financial is an independent outfit, so we don't have my boss is a jerk, but he can't fire me. So it's really just understanding what maybe the goals are not in line with what you want. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is if you're a chess player, you need to find a chess advisor,
Hmm.
not a checkers advisor. You can ask your advisor, like, well, do you own multiple pieces of real estate? And if that advisor says no, then just get up and leave because that's not a chess advisor, right?
Yeah.
They may be an excellent checkers advisor, though. I'm not going to take that away from them. Doesn't mean you know, they're just completely incompetent. They're just probably not right for you.
So what would you say like are your top three solid investment bases for someone trying to build a chess portfolio?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so the first thing, and this is going to be contradicting what I've been saying. You need to save a good amount of money. They do need to. You do need to save. Like you need to have assets. Once you have
Hmm.
the once you have a decent amount of of money saved in whatever type of account, doesn't matter. Um, and you can ask for that loan to buy real estate. And then that real estate creates cash flow. Some of that cash flow goes back into the account. Some of that cash flow goes in your pocket and you get to enjoy life now. Wow, what a concept. Then and you can take and eventually you can take out bigger and more and buy better pieces of real estate, bigger loans, better pieces of real estate, bigger loans, bigger and better businesses, whatever the case may have. That's where your money starts working for you and you're earning income while you're sleeping
Yeah.
because otherwise it just won't happen. Uh, just saving money waiting for the market, in my opinion, just won't happen. Working extra hours won't happen. I tried it. When I was a rookie police officer, I worked a million hours over time trying to earn more money, try to build more. And all I did was work more and paid higher taxes. And yeah, you need to rethink what you're doing if you're on that boat.
Okay, fair enough. So if you could just go back in time, how would you advise your younger self? Giving one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
I would say get around a lot, get around wealthy people faster,
Mm,
get around wealthy people and listen to them and learn and start implementing strategies that are going to actually be successful. And even though I did that, of course, you would want to do it earlier, but happy with it. But there's no financial product or anything like that that's going to build your wealth for you. It's more strategy than it is product.
so no, getting around wealthy people, it's easy to say, but there's a science around it, isn't it? How how do we break that barrier? Because it's not like the wealthy people want to associate with the average Joe. So what's your strategy to breaking that circle?
I would find a service job if you're like just starting out and let's say you don't have anything yet, I would
Uh,
find a service job in that arena. Like, I don't know,
okay.
if you're gonna be a waiter, don't be a waiter at the local pub. Try to be a waiter at a country club or some kind of service. And if you're gonna be, I don't know, house cleaner, try to find the biggest houses and work for less, but also pick the brain of the owner of that mansion or whatever
Mm,
you get to understand. Because one thing about successful people will tell you, no one's like trying to like keep
gatekeep.
everything a secret.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're proud to tell you the ways that we became successful. So by and large, right? So I would just stop being in the same pond that you've been in because you're just gonna stay there.
Mm, sure. Yeah, that has shaped my life a lot because growing up, I just associated myself with a lot of people that are going the same direction I would want to, and I would always associate myself with people that are better than me. Not
Mm.
just because I'm just trying to milk off from them, but I find myself being inspired, especially when, like, I'm a chartered accountant, and back in uni, I saw people already doing their ACCA exams, and like, okay, so we could do it from school. All right, and I was privileged to have found these sort of people and worked with them. Otherwise, it would have taken me longer to get my ACA degree. It would have taken me longer to get into the big four. It would have taken me longer. I wouldn't be exposed to the wealth of knowledge and opportunities I found just because I was not moving in those circles. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you're around people they're sort of driven in a specific way that you'd want to go and basically rub off you. If you're in a room of 10 successful people, you're
Yep.
the 10th person. So it makes sense.
And you can have the contacts. Some of them might give you an opportunity.
Yeah, and the good thing is that the rich people, they don't gatekeep. They refer you to their contacts, especially when they see you have the hunger and the drive for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's you know people are willing to help, but again, if you show that you have the ambition and
and you're
the
ready to
will
ask
to
the
do
right
to do
questions.
some things that you don't want to do
Yeah.
in order to get where you want to be.
Okay, let's talk about your family life. I know you're a dad. You have how many kids?
I have two kids. I have a 14-year
Nice.
old son. He's a baseball player, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. She's a competitive cheerleader, and they're both very active in their sport and both very driven to get better at their sport, which is the reason why I don't mind paying for all the lessons and all the other stuff is because they're learning how to get good at something. Not I'm not it's not just about trying to make the major leagues or try to make the top cheer team in the world. It's really about being able to get good at something because that's the lesson that they're going to take with them into their professional lives. I have a great wife, and her name is Barb. We enjoy. We're just normal people. Really, really normal. We enjoy normal things. Really enjoy the time with the kids because we don't get these years back. Yeah,
Wow, that's
but
amazing. Because you're not just being a wealth advisor, you're also being a huge influence to your kids. So how does being a parental influence affect how you talk to your clients about legacy and future planning?
well, that's an important question especially when you're first talking to a potential client, is what are their goals, right? What's important to them? For some people, leaving a legacy is very important. It's very important to me. But for some people, it's not as important or important at all. But, we do like working with people who do want to leave a strong legacy to their kids,
Yeah,
and you can still teach the value of of hard work and determination without them having to go through the hard. You give your kids the best, life will take care of the rest. I mean, they're going to have their own struggles and their own things to get over, but it's really about helping them being able to do what they want to do later on. You have a lot of listeners out there that if I asked them, "What was your dream when you were a kid? What
uh,
did you want to do?" It it may not be the answer that they're gonna give what they're doing now, right? In their
yeah,
30s and 40s, and it's like, "I always wanted to do this, but I couldn't." And, the whole adage, in my opinion, of, you hear this a lot, right? You do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, as long as what you love is creating decent or great revenue, that might be
uh-huh.
true. When your job does not create revenue, I don't care how much you like doing it, not a good time, right?
Not a good
If
time.
if it no, if you want but if you can build wealth first
Uh,
and then have that passion job that doesn't make really much at all, but because you have multiple pieces of real estate, multiple businesses being successful, and you can just go and, you know, I don't know, sing at the local, dive bar or paint or whatever that doesn't may not make a lot of money, but you enjoy it. I think that's a level of wealth too, right? But when you can barely make rent doing those things, I think that's where,
Yeah,
I don't think happiness lies there very much.
exactly. Because people need to see a bigger picture. And when you give them a why, especially in terms of their kids or the legacy they want to leave behind, it would strengthen their motivation to be uncomfortable and just take the leap. So I think that makes sense. It's a very potent strategy. So I know you've helped a lot of people transform their financial lives. So is there any story that basically stand out to you, client success story that's hits you home and stands out as a meaningful experience for you?
I don't know if there's one, but it's just I enjoy watching people being able to achieve their goals, whatever
Hmm.
that was. And you get the thank yous and you get the, I don't know if I could have done this without you and all that. And that makes you feel really good. Helping people because, that's why I became a police officer, right? So that stuff is great. But also, it's just the relationships that we have with our clients, which I think which is very valuable. And you'd be surprised that, like when you kind of poll your clients and you say like, hey, like, what do you like about working with us? What do you like about the firm? Anything we can improve? Like
Yeah.
that, those types of questions. And you think as the professional, like, oh, they're gonna compliment how much more money they have or how much more, stuff they have or whatever, the financials, right? But it's
Hmm.
always like the answer is usually like something like you answer the phone. We love that about you. If
Yeah.
we need something, we call you and you answer, or we set up an appointment with you and you're not charging us for that type of stuff, and or just having more of that relationship base, I think is super great.
That's amazing because I feel like it's more of a deeper connection for you that you're able to help people, not just as a police officer, but now to create generational wealth, to create long lasting, and just basically to change the wealth game for people. It's super inspiring.
That's my goal is to help the wealth gap shrink in the United States
Shrink.
and
So,
not expand.
so would you say that, like, do you necessarily give people a time frame or within what can help you get to your goal within 3 years, within 5 years, or you
Oh, it just
just
depends. It
depends
depends on
on?
what it depends on the client. It depends on what they want to do, right? It depends on what their eh, there's tolerance and capacity, right? Capacity is what they could do. Tolerance is what they're willing to do. So those things sometimes aren't the same. So it really just depends on the client. But if they are a chess player, they're willing to do what it takes to build true wealth and have the right attitudes, then I think they'll be successful working with us for sure.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'll put it to you anyways. So, if building wealth were a sport, what position would you play and why? Building wealth were sports. What position would you play and why?
You're the coach. You're the
Definitely.
general manager, the person that picks the team, picks the orchestrator. The client is the player. The client is the person that um, has to do the performance, right? So whether it's pitching or soccer or whatever, it's ultimately the person participating needs to get the job done. But we're here to support and help and make sure that they know what the best strategies are.
Nice. So, you have Long Island roots, you experience Florida sunshine and Virginia grits in your police work. So, how have these places shaped who you are today, both personally and professionally?
You know, just different areas. Like where I lived in Long Island was very working class.
Hmm.
It was very but a good area, right? And then going to Virginia was more affluent, more professional. Uh, and then coming down here to Tampa has been a great experience as well. So I think yeah, all three areas have their pros and their cons. Like, but yeah, I mean, it's finding finding different cultures. I also went to college in Charlotte, so that was a good experience for me as well.
Nice.
a bit of all pretty much up and down the East Coast, but all the different places definitely have their charm.
Okay. So what would you say would be your best and worst investments so far in
Best what investments?
your best and worst
Oh, best
investment
reward
experience?
investment.
Yeah.
Oh, your best investment's always who you marry, right? So, um, and I would worst investment. I made some mistakes.
Hmm.
Anybody successful that tells you they haven't made mistakes, I'm a liar.
Yeah.
Um, made some mistakes, and the mistakes are what you want back most. Even recently, I made a business mistake, trusting the wrong organization. Yeah, but you got to learn from it and just keep on moving, right? You
Yeah.
take your lumps and keep going. But I'm also very happy. I took the mindset of like, well, I was able to make this mistake and lose this much money, and we're fine. So that's also, great when you can, hit a speed bump and you just kind of keep on going. So I would say that's the successful part of the mistake is all the other decisions you made that were really, really good. So that one mistake doesn't like completely wipe you out.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the precepts of having a full life. You know, people say, "Oh, I have a full life." It means you've thrived in the highs, you've thrived in the lows, and you're still pushing. So anyone that tells you they've not made mistakes or they've not done anything bad, it's just lying.
Yeah, no, it's told liar pants on
Okay.
fire.
So we've come to this segment. It's called the firecracker segment. It's just a segment where I just rush you through with questions and you don't have to think too much, just answer as it comes. So are we ready? So if you have to sum up your entire financial philosophy in one sentence for someone hearing you for the first time, what would it be?
If you want to build wealth, you got to play chess, and you got to be comfortable with that.
think I just figured that you didn't say that, but yeah, it makes a lot
That
of
was the easy
sense.
one. Do something harder.
So what's one bold money move you think more people should be making, but most are too afraid to try?
I would say to stop saving so much money or stop reinvesting money in your business. Yeah,
How
that's a
so?
weird one. That one's weird.
Okay. Yeah.
Like just reinvesting money in the business, right? Like this happens with realtors a lot. And they keep investing their business money into the business. They're not buying real estate themselves. They're not buying business themselves and using that cash flow to invest in their business. Because eventually something goes wrong all the money's gone. Whereas if you purchase the asset first and only invest the money that the asset makes, when something goes wrong, well, you still have the cash cow still coming in, producing the revenue every month. That one's a little tricky for business owners.
Okay, that makes sense. Like I haven't heard it spun that way before, but now the way you said it just makes perfect sense. Don't
Thank you.
stop reinvesting it. Just create a cash flow way and can diversify.
Yeah,
Okay.
invest that money. If you want to invest
Yeah.
that money, the money that the assets generating back into your business, okay, that's fine. It just gives you more security in what you're doing.
Hmm. Okay, the last one for this segment. You're all about playing the wealth game. So what's your next big play?
Really getting this message out there, going on speaking tours, really getting in the public a little bit
Hmm.
more. I'm an introvert by nature, so it's again, I'm practicing what I'm preaching. I'm being uncomfortably comfortable
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. But the mission is very important to me to get the message out there, and I'm willing to do those things. So, and it's, it is once you get good at it, anything's easy when you're good at it, right? So it's just the getting good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. It's just like making the first awkward step and thriving as you go on. So thank you so much for being on the pod today. How can we reach you? Because many of our viewers would want to start playing the chess game with you.
Sure. Well, it would, of course, it would help a lot if they were US based,
Yeah.
and they can go to optafinancial.com.
Uh-huh.
And it's optafinancial.com. And in the top right hand corner, it says schedule a complimentary consultation. And they can speak with us and make sure that we're going to be a good fit for them and they're going to be a good fit for us. They can also uh, download or go on Audible or just buy the actual physical book off Amazon, Playing the Wealth Game.
Yeah.
I'm saying things that other financial professionals dare not say, right? So it's definitely a different read than what they're probably used to. So if they're looking to hear something a little bit fresh, that's going to be a good place for them to go.
Amazing. I'll put all the links in the description of the video so everyone can go there, click in, and connect with Freddie. So it's been an amazing run, Freddie. Absolutely enjoyed speaking with you, and I learned a whole lot. You just changed my perspective. Imagine if I'm signed up on Opta Financial, I'll be playing the chess game by tomorrow. Thank you so much for being on the pod with us. It's been an amazing time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah. And so, fellas, this marks the end of another intriguing episode we had with Freddie Rapina, the wealth boss, the wealth advisor, your wealth coach. So let's continue to dig into the money. Let's continue to get our knowledge, and let's continue to turn knowledge into action and bricks into bank, because nothing happens until you make your first move. This has been Bricks and Bank with Steph. See you on the next episode. Bye.